Okay, why don't you see an interview?
I was really anxious to talk to Richard. The way he writes the songs it's so complex, it's so hook driven, and yet they are so heavy. So I couldn't wait to ask our burning questions about this album.
Take it away.
I just blew me away, this whole album. It's great from front to back, top to bottom. Um, I love the blend of power metal and like kind of those thrash moments. Who was kind of the architect of putting that together? Because it's very different from most of the time you get all hard or
Yeah, it's
all
kind of a
power
blend.
metal.
Yeah.
So I mean, I write all the songs. It's kind of like why I wanted to do this because I just like writing songs a bunch, and I've been fortunate to have these guys around me to help bring them to life. But like that's super on purpose. I like the big thing about all these songs is contrast and a blending of styles. And it's super important. And some people get it, and some people it just doesn't compute. So yeah, I think that's boring, if you just have one tempo or one feel for the entire song. It's just like, oh God, I mean, it works for some people though, but not for me. It's not what I wanted to do.
Right. They follow the genre rules. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
And like I knew this was going to be polarizing, like I don't care about genres and everyone in metal, at least the old school guys, I think they still preach this and believe in it. It's like fuck the rules, like do whatever
Yeah.
you want and everything. And now we've turned into this genre purist thing in metal. It's just like, you don't need to be like that.
Yeah. No, I agree.
No,
Yeah.
I love a good blend, and it's like you took the best parts of everything and put it together. I mean, what's
Yeah.
not to love about that?
And thank you so much for saying that. Like, really, I appreciate it so much.
Everything, the production, the tempo changes.
The
I had to
harmonies.
drop Nevermore as a reference, which is that's one of my favorite bands. I mean,
Yeah.
ooh, yeah.
I mean, like, we don't shy away from embracing our influences either. Like, everyone doesn't want to be associated with it. I'm like, screw that. We
Yeah.
love these guys, and yeah, it's going to sound like we're influenced by them, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what were your like inspirations to start playing guitar originally? Like
And drums.
going way back, yeah. Well, and drums, yeah.
We have, so going, is it okay if I go first, Kane?
Yeah, go ahead.
Going way back, uh, I actually quit playing guitar and then I started again. And I remember like exactly what it was. Got the Ozzy Live and Loud album and I heard Zach Wild playing and I was like, who the hell is playing guitar? And just from there, passion kicked in, and then I started to get into bands like Iced Earth and Gravedigger and a lot of the underground stuff. And it just blossomed from there.
So I've been playing, what, probably about 20 years now, playing bass. I think I started when I was 13, so almost 20 years. Um, I never really stopped. I kind of had a slow start because I used to be into a lot of Guitar Hero, Rock Band. I was like a pro or what passed for a pro back in the day. And I remember seeing the 1985 footage of Metallica playing For Whom the Bell Tolls in London or somewhere in England. I forget where it was. And Cliff is doing that rip and solo at the beginning. And I said, that is what I want to do right there.
Yeah.
And that was when I think I was 15. And that was it. Just nonstop. I did a ton of Metallica, moved to Testament, Death. Then I found Dream Theater. John Mayung from Dream Theater is my biggest influence. So it's I try to be pretty eclectic with my playing, but that's definitely where it started is the thrash and a little bit more of the melodic in there later on as well.
Really.
So I love the name of the band. I almost expected to be able to Google it and come up with it was a line from a poem or a book, but I
Yeah.
couldn't find anything except you guys, which is a good thing. But where did it come from? It's very profound
Mhm.
sounding.
I'm trying to remember exactly. It started off as something different, but I was just going for like this apocalyptic sounding name, basically, like this hopeless thing. So that's really what it is.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. So I love the cover too. What are kind of the the concept behind the skeletons, one with like the scales of justice and one with a gavel and one with the fire. And
And the child.
how did the kid figure it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's basically just supposed to be like societal elite and specifically like politicians on either side of the aisle. And you see like the world burning behind them, which they caused, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
but they'll call it justice. And then you've got like this serpent tongue, meaning like they lie to you all the time or are deceptive on purpose. And he's holding a steaming pile of ash, which is debatable. We thought it might have looked like a steaming pile of poo at first. We're worried about people not understanding that, but we went with
Yeah.
that. And he's handing it to this child that looks incredibly concerned about what they're receiving, but their child is also kind of like, clothed in the same way as them. So it's like
Right.
going to be brought up like that. So it's just kind of like capturing a lot of what I thought was going on with the world, in the sense of, the societal elite are always dividing everybody, and they're rich and powerful, and we're all fighting amongst ourselves, and we don't really need to be, if we could just figure out what they're actually doing to all of us. So
That's true.
It really grabs your attention. To me, it was very peace sells adjacent,
Yeah.
yeah.
And so did you go back and forth with the artist a lot for him to get it right? Because it sounds like you had a very specific idea.
I mean, he was a little bit intimidated by it, but our artist is amazing. Like, I don't want anybody else. Like, he's Jason Cessna. He's got a band called Astroborn, and they're awesome too. Yeah, you guys should reach out to them. But I mean, like, there's a couple people in this business where I feel like I can go to them and just have complete confidence in them and not worry about it. Like, maybe there'll be a couple of revisions, but like any idea I come to that guy with, he just knocks it out of the park.
Yeah.
So Kane's like that too. Like, complete confidence in his playing, and whatever he comes up with, it's like, there you go. So
Confidence, he says. Yeah, confidence. Oodles of confidence.
No, I know what you mean. The guy that did our artwork for this season, I asked him if he could reimagine the Celtic Frost to Megatherium cover, but make it a little more black and white punk rock. And oh my God, he knocked it out of the park so perfectly. And he did it like in one shot. It was just like, is this okay? I was like, oh my God.
yeah, and hopefully Jason doesn't see this, but like, his prices haven't caught up with his talent yet. Like,
I know what you mean. Yeah, we have tattoo artists that way. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, don't let them know.
And don't let them know.
So I love, everyone always seems so kind of enamored with the idea of the apocalypse, because it's so popular, like Walking Dead. We're rewatching Handmaid's Tale to get ready for the next. You guys have any favorite like apocalyptic shows or
Like movies or
that you guys-
movies or TV shows?
go ahead, Kane.
I'm the boring one. I don't really watch that much. So a lot of it's more books, I guess. A lot less fun to talk about Hemingway or something, considering how dry he is. But most of my experience is more literature based than shows. I don't know if I could pick one off the top of my head, to be honest. It's just one aspect of many that I tend to delve into. So putting it on the spot, I don't know if I can give you like a top 3 or something, but
Yeah.
if there's anything touching it, especially if it's anything drama or horror related in literature, I'm probably touching on some of that. Dostoevsky and stuff like that but that's not quite apocalyptic, but a little bit of the darker side of human nature and stuff. That's stuff that I like.
Are you actually physically reading books?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I know we do too.
Yeah,
We do too, and it's funny because like
I've got like 300 behind me and I don't have enough space for it.
Yeah, we're the same way. And you hear other podcasts where they're like, when I say reading, of course I mean audiobooks.
I
Like,
can't.
like
No.
it's like
Or
people
Kindle.
have forgotten to read.
I had a Kindle about 5 years ago. I was given by a friend, and I didn't want to tell them. I just never used it because there's something about the tactile pleasure of having the book,
I agree.
and sitting down and actually doing it.
Yeah, there's 2 smells I really like in the world. Like when you walk into a bookstore or a shoe store, either one of those, I'm like, take my money. That's it.
Record store.
Record store for
Fun.
sure. The old school vinyls. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh,
totally.
do movies count?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So definitely the original Dawn of the Dead. And we just
Oh,
did a
yeah.
show about this. And then, I mean, I was into the Walking Dead series at the beginning. And then when they just kind of repeated the same plot, I just kind of lost it.
Everywhere they went, it was a
Yeah.
terrible decision.
And they had like 5 million re like a spin-off series or whatever.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I was for those. Yeah, I think The Handmaid's Tale is possibly the darkest thing I've ever seen. It's just such a horrible world, and what they do to these women, and ugh. So how did you get into actual songwriting, and are there any kind of muses that might seem odd, where things just hit you?
So yeah, I think like I'm self-inspired. Like when you start to get rolling on some of this stuff, you have an idea and you build off of it. That becomes super inspiring and it just kind of like keeps going. And there was just this big passion. Like this whole project came out of COVID and having a little bit of downtime to work on this stuff, just kind of like built a little bit of a fire up in me and the stuff just came out. And I had on the first album, it was some songs that were there for a couple years and just continued to flesh them out. On this one, I didn't really have much of anything. It was just started working on it and just really wanted to do it and really got into the idea of writing songs and making sure that I completed them and also making sure that a big part of my writing process is write, put it on the shelf and come back to it a little bit later and make it better.
Mhm.
And this same thing, making sure that the lyrics were versatile, like they're not all the same type of concept or topic every single song, and making sure that they're good. Like to me, it's hit or miss in metal, like if lyrics are any good, like, but I want it to be like a little bit poetic and make people think and that sort of thing. And I don't really have a muse, because I feel like if I do that, I'm going to wait around for something to happen and I'm not going to get any work done. So I just try to go for it and get it done. And you also have to really prioritize like completing a project. And I think that's a lot of times musicians do that. They don't think about getting the thing done. Like you actually have to commit to it and make sure that the project gets done. So yeah, Kane knows all too well my philosophy on that.
Do you have multiple hard drives full of riffs just laying around? I mean,
Not like full, but I've got them scattered either on Dropbox and like different solid state drives and stuff. So
yeah,
guitar player.
yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
same thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I haven't been practicing as much, lately because of doing the show, but back in
Yeah.
the day, I played a lot more. Mhm.
Sorry,
So
groaning in the background's my dog. It's not me.
That's okay.
so I love stuff like Faceless War Machine. And kind of the whole concept, because modern war is so much different than when you were like hand to hand combat. It's just it becomes almost like a video game. But um when you get to that point where you're writing a rise, what are you invoking there? Like kind of like to rise up against this faceless war machine, or just to stand up?
No, it's just like the rise or the becoming of the entity of faceless war machines, or just like, soldiers that are conscripted and are forced into battle.
Oh.
That's basically what that meant.
Yeah, I love the bass line on that one too. Did you kind of come up with that together, or?
That song was more or less put together by the time I started working on it, but that one's very high octane, very fast.
Yeah.
So a lot of it's just using my fingers to keep in time with it. There's a couple things, chords or some kind of like slide or something like that. But that was really just, I talked to Kyle a little bit, the drummer, and it's basically just like, what kind of song this is. It's like, oh yeah. And then, like I said, we played together for years. So That's usually how it is. Rich can attest. Most of the time, we don't even look at each other when we're practicing because we just I can watch Rich or whoever else, but I know Kyle's right there. So we're always on the same page with that. So we kind of just went in and we said, like, this is what it's going to be. It's like, yep. And we just hammered it out.
Plus, you probably have hard drives full of bass lines laying around.
A little bit. I have probably a couple hundred files and stuff.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
my
yeah.
thing is where Rich is a lot more conventional and stable with his songwriting. I'm much more progressive influenced, which I have a lot of complicated stuff, but the problem is I tend to get a little lost in it. So Rich and I kind of I feel Rich compliments me well because he has the structure to rein me in so that I can look at something like that and just stay within the confines of that, kind of best of both worlds.
Zappa used to tell his players, just remember, all the world hates a bass solo.
Sounds like something
Now
Zappa
go on
would
out and
say.
play it. Yeah. There's a confidence builder for you.
Oh yeah. Don't worry. If you suck, everybody's expecting you to suck anyway. It's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, I love your drummer. He is just an absolute beast. Like, oh my God, serpents among rats. It's just absolutely out of the blocks.
Mhm.
How did you come to work with him? Does he have a crazy setup? I couldn't imagine how if a plain setup for all that he does.
You want to talk about his setup? Because I don't know anything about drums.
Oh, Kyle, don't hate me, man. I don't pay attention to your stuff at the time. I know he's very proud of what he's got. He used to play bass, actually, when we first met. We both played bass, but he moved back to drums. I don't know if he's doing anything particularly special. I know he's got an array of his cymbals, his toms, and everything. He's got a very particular setup that he likes. Obviously he's in three other bands or whatever half the time.
Like all the other drummers, right?
Of
Yeah.
course, yeah, because you know how it is. It's a drummer, they need to be in every single band.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
they're all extreme. It's funny, I've talked to him about this. He said, even though we're fast and stuff, Among These Ashes is like the slow band. Because
Oh, wow.
Ah.
he's like, oh, my other bands will be playing at 260, 270 blast beats, whatever. And he's like, no, just 190, I can do that. So.
Oh, that's great.
But
Yeah.
eat a sandwich.
Yeah, exactly.
So we were, this was never supposed to be a live band at all. Like it was just going to be a studio thing. And, we have a mutual friend, Joe Katie in Finality, who's also from Detroit. He convinced me to do it live. And when I do something, I don't ever do it less than 100%. So he linked us up with Kyle, and we brought Kyle in, and yeah, he's on the album, and then did a couple singles with us and everything. And like, I think it's pretty demanding on a drummer, this sound. And, people always, when they talk about us, the influences I always hear, it's always Iced to Earth and Nevermore, and definitely for sure. The one that people always miss, and when I tell you this, you probably won't be able to unhear it, like Fear Factory.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but you're not using drum machines, so that wouldn't have been one of my first thoughts,
Yeah, like he played all that. Well, on the first album, I did use drums because it was literally just me and JP, and that was it.
Yeah.
So,
So if you had to be locked in a room with one or the other, would it be serpents or rats? If you had to pick one.
oh man, rats. That's an awesome question.
The weird thing is in India, they have problems with both. They have
Yeah.
cobra infestation and rat infestation. You would think they would take care of each other, but it doesn't work that way.
What about you, Kane?
Uh,
He's like, yes.
No, I would go serpents because there was a book series I read where one character was traumatized growing up in like half a shack, half dungeon, where at night the rats would come in, and
Ugh.
even as a little girl, she would curl up and sleep like this,
Oh, my
and
God.
because they would nip at her fingers and
Ah.
at her toes, and I don't know why that left such an impression, but I remember walking away like, wow, I am never looking at a rat ever again. I'm not going to New York City. I'm not going to no sewers, nothing. So
Right.
I'll take the serpents all day. They'll either leave me alone or they'll kill me quickly. So thank God.
That's true.
Here is my theory. You can't get bubonic plague from a snake. There you
There we
go.
go. That's true.
The people that are so romantic about the Victorian era, what about the freaking rats? My God, I think we're forgetting some things,
I just got this awesome shirt last week, and it says Black Death Worldwide Tour, and it's got like the years. And it's like snarling
You gotta
around.
send me
Oh,
a
that's
pic of
cool.
that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. People were just throwing chamber pots out the window. That couldn't have been good,
Right.
So, yeah.
I love the idea of the title track being that acoustic, kind of just starting off acoustic and kind of slowly ramping up. Um, I think it's good to have like a mood setter like that. Did you write that first or did that come after?
That came after, but I same thing. I like you just said, just kind of like this introductory track that sets the stage for the next one. I was writing a lot of this album as we were recording the first one. And I think the first piece of music that came out of this was Serpents. And like, if you listen to the demo, it's like wildly different from what it ended up being. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
What are some of your favorite heavy metal acoustic intros? Like, I mean, you got like Fight Fire with Fire, you got
yeah.
Curse the Gods, Destruction. There's got to be a couple
I'm
that,
gonna number one, Battery.
yeah, I was gonna say, there's that one, yeah.
It's so good. It's so amazing, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. You could tell they had upped their game. As soon as the
Yeah.
first time I heard that, I was like, wow, that's Spanish guitar. That's something. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like, and if this is a question later, I apologize.
No,
But I
no,
mean,
it's all right.
Metallica was for me, the biggest influence for this album. I just got so into them around COVID, and like I hadn't listened to them for years. And maturing, you get a little bit older. I think you listen to things differently, you know. And I started to take a lot of things away. I'm like, wow, this is freaking brilliant. So like all those, and I still appreciate the load and reload and all their stuff now. So
And just to show how insanely topical we are, Marianne Faithfull died today. So
yeah, I saw that.
so I thought that was absolute genius the way they laced her vocals into that song. It fit perfectly. And a lot of people didn't like it or get it. And I was just like, you don't understand.
Yeah.
So, kind of, what is the concept of the new breed and the hybrid bloodline? I was like, all I know is hybrid tomatoes.
Yeah.
Hybrid
So
vehicles. Yeah.
the last four songs are conceptual. It was basically just this idea of, and I don't believe in aliens, but I do like the Alien movie franchise and the Thing and stuff like that. And I
Mhm.
just wanted to make a couple songs that were along those lines, and come up with a little bit of my own story, and also taking stuff from like historical theories about it and all that sort of thing. So, the Theory of Voids, that's the first one in that series, and that's just basically like supposed to be a musical journey through space. And then we get into Hybrid Bloodline, and that song thematically and lyrically is basically about aliens coming down and creating a hybrid race of aliens and humans that end up becoming enthroned in the government, and people aren't aware of it. And they rule over them in a tyrannical way. And eventually people become aware, and this is in the next song, the Obsidian Rain, and they get rid of the aliens, but then they also become enthroned in high places, and they're just as corrupt, and they destroy themselves. So
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Did you ever think about taking that Obsidian Rain idea and making it its own thing, or was it always going to be a part of this album?
we did talk about that. I actually kind of like thought about maybe we just release those four songs separately, but we ended up deciding to put them together and make it a whole, because it's a long album, and like some people appreciate that, some don't. Like some of the reviews we've been getting, like, I can't sit through an hour of music, and I'm like, well, just press pause.
It's your 2112. Come on.
You can come back to it. So
The new Judas Priest is over an hour.
Mhm.
yeah, I don't know. Symphony X, Iconoclast, that's an hour. They probably got other
Yeah.
albums for an hour.
I like the longer ones because if you go for a run and you can just listen to the whole thing,
Yeah.
and you don't have to we're back at the beginning already.
Well, the collective attention span. I mean, it's so
That's
hard to,
exactly what it is,
the
man.
Spotify has ruined it,
Yeah,
so
and the internet has ruined it as well.
ruined it. Yeah. Yeah.
So the song that Undertow kind of stuck out at me. It's a great song, but some of the other themes seem maybe political or social commentary, where the Undertow almost sounds like it's a toxic love story song.
Yeah. It was the only one that wasn't like, didn't seem super political on the surface.
But I love the lyrics are so profound.
Yeah, that song is basically just supposed to be about death, you know. But I consciously try to write things to be interpreted in multiple ways, and so I could definitely see what you're talking about with the toxic love story type of thing, but it's
Yeah.
really just supposed to be about dying and separating for someone close to you.
And then how did you come to work with Brooke Rousseau doing those lovely vocals on the reprise of that?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's awesome. So we have a song on our first album, Veil of Black, and I always thought it would be really cool to have that be done as a duet. So she came in and she recorded vocals on that. And if you haven't heard it yet, you should check that one out too. And then when we had this, I had the idea of bringing her back in. So she actually sings harmony vocals on the normal Undertow version with JP. And then she does her own version as a bonus track. So we just wanted to bring her back in, and yeah, she's did a really great job and very happy with how that came out.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, we play a game on the show, so I hope you're ready for a game.
Oh yeah.
It's called Blaspheming Monikers. Okay, and the way that it works is I have 5 band names in front of me. One of them is fake. One of them's made up. So I want you guys to take turns guessing which one is not a real band. Okay. And yes, this is the back of my W-2 envelope. So, okay. Okay. 1, Ashes Reburnt. 2, Ashes of Jerusalem. 3, Ashes Allah. 4, Interment Ashes. And 5, Ashes for the Mute. Which one of those sounds fake?
Go ahead, Kane.
I can read them again if you want.
I don't want to say all of them.
I know, right? I know.
Ashes Reburnt sounds a little bit odd. I'll go with that.
They're real. It's power metal from Germany. They only have one album from 2001, but they are real. So that leaves Ashes of Jerusalem, Ashes Allah, Interment Ashes, and Ashes for the Mute.
I'm gonna go with Ashes of Allah.
They're black metal from Russia, and they're actually a new band. They actually have 2 albums from last year, or 2 EPs from last year.
Ashes
So,
of the Mute is a badass name. I actually really like that.
which one? Which one?
Ashes of the Mute.
Yeah, they're real. They're from California. They've
Yeah.
got I'm sorry, is it Doom Death from Georgia? I'm sorry, I can't read my own handwriting. 3 EPs. No, the one I made up was Ashes of Jerusalem. That's not
Okay.
real.
Really, I'm actually surprised. I thought that would have been real.
Yeah, I found that the more specific I am with the fake ones, the more it throws people off. But some of these band names, isn't it always like, what did you spend 5 minutes on that? I mean, it's ridiculous, like I don't know.
We gotta steal Ashes of the Mute for a song, Kane. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
I was gonna say that's our new project name.
Yeah. Ashes for the Mute. Yep.
I love all the way you guys spend a lot of times on the intros and the outros too. And I like that one effect where it sounds like it's far away and then slowly increases in volume. Who kind of had the idea to do that?
Which one was that on? Do you remember?
Is this War Machines?
Yeah, that's one
EQ
of them.
swell.
Oh yeah, that's the EQ effect. I wanted to do that just because I thought we had too many fade-ins on our other songs. So I was like, we need to have something
Yeah.
that's like a fade-in.
I remember us talking about that because I think I said the same thing. I'm like, I like it, but that's the third fade in. Should we try something else? And you're like, let me see what I can do. And then you send it back with a mix of something with the EQ swell. I'm like, yo, that's it. That is so cool.
Yeah.
So there's so many hooks that are woven in there. Are you conscious of them, or does it just kind of happen? Because you'll have the pattern between chorus verse, and then you'll have the harmonies pop out and just different and the way it weaves together is just really brilliant.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Definitely conscious of it. I spend a ton of time on that. Like it's got to be able to flow well, and I'll drive myself a little bit crazy working on stuff like that. And like really, it comes down to making sure every single part, pretty much every single note has got to be well thought out, and in terms of songwriting, and then well executed in terms of performance as well. Trying the best we can to write it well, and then to capture the best performance we can. It's just that's the priority.
It turned out great. The harmonies sound great. The production is phenomenal. Really good.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So are you planning on doing any more live shows, or is that something maybe on the back burner?
Are there tour plans? Like any ideas?
Festivals?
No, we don't know yet.
Still in the works.
Sure.
I had a feeling. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So have you thought about a follow-up yet? Or are there songs out there that maybe you're still on the cutting room floor?
On your hard drives. Yeah.
On your hard drive?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been like, same thing happened with this one as it did in the last one. It's hard for me to stop writing. I just really enjoy it. So yeah, there's a couple pieces of music floating around, and Kane and I have been talking. If we do something, it's gonna probably end up being me and him together, and yeah, we'll see. It might morph into something else, but I'm not sure yet. But I need to kind of I'm taking a little bit of a break from this. This is a lot of work. It was pretty stressful to get through, and I need to take some time for myself to, I don't know, get backed away from it and then refocus energy.
Understood. Yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, Kane will just continue practicing his Stanley Clark, routine.
Yeah. Hey, look, I'm in my study right now, my computer, and if ever I get a feeling, I just reach over. There's my bass right there, right? So.
Are you all 4-string, or do you have?
Oh no, this is 6-string. I'm a 6-string.
You have 6. Okay, you're 6-string.
I have I also played left-handed, but I'm because I played left-handed, I can't get anything I want because nobody plays left-handed. So I had to get a custom 6-string. It's actually thinner than normal. It's more the thickness of the neck. It's more like a 5-string, but it's accommodating the 6 strings. Just that goes back to my progressive stuff. I like to use all of it. So it's funny though. I originally intended to use it on this album, and it kind of got pushed back a couple times. So I ended up using a Rickenbacker 4003 on the album. So that was still nice, but now I got to break this boy out, So.
Is that your main go-to guitar?
Yeah, it plays like a dream, which is funny because when I got the Rick, it was head and shoulders above anything I'd ever played. It was beautiful. My fingers were just, burning just touching it. It was so hot. It was so good.
That's cool.
And then I picked up this one, and this one almost puts the Rick to shame as well. So,
oh wow,
definitely itching to get that out there.
You ever played the thing that's the guitar and bass with the 2 necks? That thing left. That thing is crazy. The guy on High on Fire has one. It's like, oh man.
Yeah.
I used to want one of those actually, but just not enough money for it, especially not a left-handed one. So
you have a number of guitars behind you. Do you have a favorite up there?
Yeah, you mind if I'll show you.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry, buddy. So I just rolled over his tail.
We used to always have our dog come down here, but he's become an old man and he will fall down the stairs.
Yeah. This is my favorite right now. This is the album a bunch. This is the Les Paul Dark Knight.
That is nice. Look at that.
Wow.
So, and then,
I love the coloring.
It's really nice too. But I mean, I like them all for different reasons, and you got to set them up differently to justify having all of them.
What's the one that looks like an Explorer, the white one? What is that?
That's the James Hetfield Snakebite.
I was gonna say, all right.
Yeah. And then I got this one. I love this one right now.
Nice. Yeah.
This thing's a 2002. Its headstock's been broken, and like it's all dinged up. It's got all kinds of stories, I'm sure. But it sounds great and it plays really nice. So,
well, I mean, correct me, I might be wrong, but didn't Hetfield say that Flying V he plays on Kill 'Em All, that's not an actual Flying V, right? It's a knockoff, right?
Yeah, it's the Chipson version of it.
Yeah, that's right. It's a knockoff. Yeah.
This is the Snaggletooth Extreme Metal Podcast.